And as these fires continue, experts are warning that for Southern California, this year's conditions are anything but typical. Now, joining us now is Virginia Tech Fire Ecology and Management Professor Adam Coates. Adam, Professor, thank you so much for joining us here today. Can you talk a little bit about why Southern California is looking at these increased wildfire risks even during the winter months?
Sure. Thank you for having me, and well wishes and condolences to everyone that's dealing with this. It's an interesting dynamic because a lot of times you'll think of Southern California as a place that has vegetation that might need to be managed, large forests and things like that. What's burning now is the coastal community that's primarily chaparral and shrublands. So that vegetation grows back really quickly. And so last year they had a significant rainfall year. It was an El Nino year. They had a lot of rainfall that came. And then coming into this year, actually, I think some of the last significant rainfall they had was in May. So you go 8 months with really dry conditions with all that vegetation that grew last year. All of that becomes flammable fuel. And really all that's needed to create fire is heat, oxygen, and fuel. And so when there's any type of ignition source or heat that's provided to ignite that, fueled by these really high intensity winds that are also carrying they're dry winds, not carrying moisture. So that erratic fire behavior really becomes problematic when you have all this fuel, and that begins to mix in the wildland urban interface, where it's really hard to do things to remove that fuel because you're running into homes and just barriers to be able to have containment lines and control.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is there anything they can do about this? Can they cut the brush? Can they do anything to take the fuel away so these things don't get so crazy before they get to houses?
Right. It becomes difficult, right? And I think homeowners take a lot of responsibility for this. The California, it's one of the groups out of California that's trying to mitigate wildfire risk. They recommend defensible space in between homes. So recommendations for 5 feet, 30 feet, and 100 feet away from a home as to what plant materials to use, thinking about what water sources may be there to basically be able to use to put a fire out. It becomes complicated from, I think, the federal and the state standpoint to manage that vegetation in a broad way because it grows back so quickly. And you have these kind of offsetting patterns of rainfall and then going into drought, that it really becomes complicated and expensive to do those types of treatments when you already have homes and infrastructure in place. And so there's some of that can be done. I think there's more and more emphasis on doing that, not only with state and federal agencies, but then actually having homeowners groups and homeowners associations come together to work on that. And a lot of those conversations happened after the Gatlinburg incident in 2016 in Tennessee. So as you see this stuff happen out west, we get removed from it in that it might not happen here, but we just saw a pretty large wildfire in upstate New York and even in the Catskills area back in December. And so these types of events can happen when we have these weather-driven type fire ignitions.
All right, Professor Adam Coates from Virginia Tech, thanks for joining us and sharing some of your insight today.
Thank you.